The moment a medical system collapses, death does not arrive dramatically. It arrives quietly, in hours, through dehydration, infection, airway obstruction, and untreated trauma. The real danger is not the absence of hospitals, but the false belief that most medical emergencies require advanced equipment to survive. In a grid-down scenario, when power fails, supply chains freeze, and communications go silent, the majority of preventable deaths occur not because treatment is impossible, but because the first critical decisions are made incorrectly within the first minutes. This is where survival begins or ends. Modern healthcare has conditioned people to outsource responsibility. Emergency rooms, ambulances, and pharmacies create an illusion of infinite backup. But in reality, survival in a medical crisis depends on understanding biological priorities, not access to technology. The human body fails in predictable sequences. Oxygen deprivation, uncontrolled bleeding, and systemic infection follow measurable timelines. When these processes begin, intervention windows are brutally short. Without intervention, irreversible damage starts within minutes, not hours. The most dangerous misunderstanding is that medical knowledge is too complex for non-professionals. This belief causes hesitation, and hesitation is lethal. In truth, the first layer of life-saving action is based on simple physiological principles. Maintain oxygen flow, preserve blood volume, regulate temperature, and prevent contamination. These are not advanced procedures. They are foundational biological requirements. The hidden reality is that most emergency medicine is simply the management of these four variables under pressure. Take airway obstruction as an example. When oxygen supply stops, brain cells begin to die within 4 to 6 minutes. Many assume survival depends on advanced tools like ventilators or oxygen tanks. But the underlying science is far more basic. Oxygen must reach alveoli in the lungs, and carbon dioxide must be expelled. If an airway is blocked, even partially, the entire system collapses. The critical intervention is mechanical, not technological. Clearing the airway, positioning the head correctly, and ensuring unobstructed breathing can restore oxygen flow immediately. This is not advanced medicine. It is applied anatomy. Evidence from emergency response data consistently shows that bystander intervention dramatically increases survival rates in airway and cardiac emergencies. The difference is not equipment. It is timing. Delayed action allows hypoxia to progress beyond recovery. Immediate, simple intervention interrupts that process. This pattern repeats across all survival scenarios. Early action stabilizes. Delayed action compounds failure. The survival implication is direct. In a collapse scenario, you are not waiting for help. You are the first responder, and the first responder determines outcome. This shifts the entire framework of preparedness from stockpiling supplies to mastering biological priority. When the body crosses from compensation into decompensation, the change is subtle at first, almost invisible to an untrained eye, but biologically it is a tipping point that determines survival. The danger here is not a dramatic collapse, but a quiet shift in physiology where the body can no longer maintain equilibrium. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes faster, skin may turn pale or clammy, and mental clarity begins to fade. These are not random symptoms. They are signals of a system under stress, attempting to preserve oxygen delivery and maintain core function. If this stage is missed, the next phase is systemic failure, where intervention becomes far less effective. The analysis reveals that the human body operates on compensatory mechanisms designed to buy time. When blood volume drops, the heart beats faster to circulate what remains. When oxygen levels fall, breathing accelerates to increase intake. When infection begins, temperature rises to inhibit microbial growth. These responses are adaptive, but they are also temporary. The The misunderstanding is assuming that, because a person is conscious or responsive, they are stable. In reality, compensation can mask severity until the body suddenly fails. This creates a false sense of security that delays action. The hidden science lies in perfusion, the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues. Every organ depends on consistent perfusion to function. When perfusion drops below a critical threshold, cells shift from aerobic to anaerobic metabolism, producing less energy and accumulating toxic byproducts like lactic acid. This leads to acidosis, a condition that disrupts cellular processes and accelerates organ failure. The body can buffer these changes only for a limited time. Once buffering capacity is exceeded, decline becomes rapid and often irreversible. Evidence from trauma care and emergency medicine consistently shows that early recognition of shock dramatically improves survival outcomes. Shock is not a single condition, but a spectrum of inadequate perfusion, whether caused by blood loss, dehydration, infection, or cardiac failure. The earlier it is identified and addressed, the higher the chance of recovery. Delayed recognition allows the cascade of metabolic failure to progress beyond control. The survival implication is that observation becomes a primary tool. In a grid-down environment, without monitors or diagnostics, the ability to read the body replaces technology. Skin temperature, capillary refill, pulse strength, respiratory rate, and mental status become critical indicators. These are not advanced techniques. They are direct assessments of physiological function. Ignoring them is equivalent to ignoring a warning system already built into the body. Now escalate this into thermal regulation, a factor often underestimated, but deeply connected to survival. The human body operates within a narrow temperature range. Deviations, whether hypothermia or hyperthermia, disrupt enzymatic processes and cellular stability. In cold environments, heat loss exceeds production, leading to a drop in core temperature. In hot environments, heat gain exceeds dissipation, causing internal overheating. Both conditions impair organ function and can lead to death if not corrected. The misunderstanding is that temperature extremes are only dangerous in obvious conditions, like freezing weather or extreme heat waves. The hidden science reveals that even moderate environments can become lethal when combined with other stressors. Wet clothing, wind exposure, dehydration, or illness can accelerate heat loss or retention. The body's thermoregulatory mechanisms rely on circulation, hydration, and energy availability. When these are compromised, temperature control fails. Evidence from survival incidents shows that hypothermia can occur in temperatures well above freezing, particularly when individuals are wet or exposed to wind. Similarly, heat-related illnesses can develop rapidly in humid conditions where sweat evaporation is limited. These are not rare events. They are predictable outcomes of environmental and physiological interaction. The implication is that temperature management is not secondary. It is integral to survival. Maintaining dry insulation, regulating exposure, and ensuring hydration directly support the body's ability to stabilize itself. In a collapse scenario, where shelter and climate control may be limited, this becomes a continuous challenge rather than a one-time concern. Now layer in nutrition, another slow-moving but critical factor. The body requires energy to sustain all functions, from maintaining temperature to fighting infection. Without adequate caloric intake, the body begins to break down its own tissues for fuel. Muscle mass decreases, immune function weakens, and recovery from injury becomes impaired. The danger is gradual, making it easy to underestimate until the effects are severe. The common misunderstanding is that short-term food scarcity is manageable without consequence. While the body can survive without food for extended periods, the hidden science shows that performance declines much earlier. Glycogen stores deplete within hours, forcing the body to rely on fat and protein metabolism. This shift reduces efficiency and increases fatigue. Cognitive function also suffers, leading to poor decision-making at a time when precision is critical. Evidence from both military and civilian survival studies indicates that even moderate caloric deficits reduce physical endurance, impair judgment, and slow reaction times. These effects compound other stressors, increasing overall risk. Malnutrition does not kill quickly, but it weakens every system that keeps you alive. The survival implication is that energy management becomes strategic. It is not just about storing food, but about balancing intake and expenditure. Overexertion without adequate nutrition accelerates decline. Controlled activity, rationing, and prioritizing high-energy tasks become essential practices. Now, the escalation becomes more complex as these factors begin to interact. Dehydration reduces blood volume, which impairs perfusion. Poor perfusion limits heat distribution, increasing the risk of hypothermia. Malnutrition weakens the immune system, making infection more likely. Infection increases metabolic demand, which accelerates dehydration and energy depletion. This is not a series of isolated problems. It is a network of interdependent failures. The misunderstanding is treating each issue separately. The hidden reality is that survival depends on managing the system as a whole. Addressing one factor while ignoring others creates imbalances that can still lead to collapse. The body does not fail in isolation. It fails as a system. Evidence from disaster scenarios consistently shows that mortality increases when multiple stressors are present, even if each one alone might be survivable. The interaction between factors creates exponential risk, not linear. This is why environments that seem manageable can become deadly when conditions shift slightly.